Hey guys, it's Rapid Reform here. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can become a more people-friendly person by improving the quality of the conversations you regularly have. We are going to cover why it is so important to be able to hold conversations, some of the general rules about communicating, and then I will actually dive into the structure of conversations and give you tips on how you can start, carry, and end conversations with confidence. So first, let's talk about why it is necessary for you to be able to hold meaningful conversations. We humans were naturally created as social creatures. In fact, there have been multiple studies which suggest that our ability to socialize can positively impact our thoughts, actions, health, and so on. However, today, we live in a world where a major chunk of our lives are spent behind cell phones, computers, tablets, and many other gadgets. These devices are intentionally designed to keep you on them as long as possible, which ultimately prevent you from leaving your room or workspace and interacting with others on a regular basis. Furthermore, social skills are an important subject that is simply not taught in school, because many teachers and professors assume that we learn these skills on our own, which for the most part is just not true because of the digital age we live in. Therefore, it is vital that you learn social skills and practice them regularly so that you can create important connections and relationships with other people and make meaningful impacts on their lives. Speaking of which, let's talk about some general rules of communication. The first is that the most effective way to get better at having conversations is by practicing them with other people. I can teach you all the tips and tricks I have about talking to people, but until you actually use them, it's just going to be information in your head. It's just like playing a sport. You must actually practice the sport in order to improve your skills, just as you must practice speaking to people to get better at having conversations. If you are more of an introvert, you may find people treating you awkwardly at first when you practice, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I promise you that the more you practice, the better you will get at it, and it will eventually become second nature to you. The second rule is that you should not be overly concerned with what other people think of you when you have conversations. The reason why a lot of us are afraid of meeting new people is because we are often too worried about how other people will perceive us. We think that they may find us weird, lame, or dumb. However, you should know that over 90% of all people have that exact mindset. That means that most people are not focused on you, but rather themselves, so you don't have to worry so much about what other people think of you. Instead, you should focus on giving your attention to the person you want to start a conversation with. And once you begin to internalize that and start caring about others for their good, they begin to respect you on another level. The third rule is you must consistently practice having conversations in order to maintain your skills. Any skill that you learn is just like building a muscle. The more you work on it, the stronger it gets. But it can also wilt away if you do not regularly practice on it. Personally, I always have a goal to socialize with at least 3 people every day, whether it is my parents, friends, bus driver, cashier, or anyone else I come across, which allows me to maintain my skill. If you are just getting started, I would recommend that you begin with 1 person a day, and slowly move your way up as you get better and more comfortable with talking to people, including those you have never met before. Now that you know the 3 general rules of communicating, let's dive into the structure of a conversation, which I like to think has 3 main parts. The first part is the initiation, which is exactly what it sounds like. When you meet a new person, you must be confident enough to break the silence and begin a conversation, because there is a good chance that the other person is just as shy, if not more shy, to start the conversation. If you both let the silence continue, the situation will just get more awkward. Generally, you should focus on initiating conversations with people who are alone and not talking to anyone. I would not necessarily recommend hopping into conversations that are already happening, whether it is between 2 people, in a group, or on the phone, since you will be interrupting the talk. Instead, focus on people who are by themselves and not doing any sort of activity, because chances are that they are feeling just as lonely as you are for the moment. So how do we initiate? There are 2 steps. The first step is the opening. Here, you have to take the initiative and say the first lines. Of course, the most basic way to do this would be saying something like, "Hi, how are you?" You could also start by saying something positive about the weather, something great that is happening today, or even about how they look. It does not matter what it is, as long as it's on the surface level. And the second step is to say your name and shake hands. After the conversation finally starts, you should ask, "What is your name?" After he or she mentions it, then say your name and shake hands. When you shake, make sure your grasp is firm, move your hand down, up, and then back down again, all within about 1 second. And don't forget to say, "It's nice to meet you," while you're shaking hands. The second part is the conversation itself. Now that you have broken the ice, the key here is to slowly move from a surface level topic into another topic that you can talk a lot more about. And there are 3 important tips I have for you to follow. The first tip is you should try to identify a topic that the other person is interested in rather than what you are interested in. By doing this, you will be able to make the other person feel more important, and he or she will become more interested in you because you are showing that you care about him or her. For example, if you initiated the conversation with something like, "I really enjoy this work environment we have here. The people are very friendly and there are a lot of great resources to help us out." The other person will likely talk about someone specific that they enjoy working with or another specific aspect of work that they like, and you can dive deeper into that subject. The second important tip I have is to provide what I like to call launch points. These are essential to having long-lasting conversations. And the idea is when you talk, you need to provide points in your speech which you and the other person can branch off into so that the conversation does not end or reach an awkward silence where you have to suddenly change the subject to break the silence. Let's take a look at the following sentences. "I really enjoy cold weather. I know most other people probably prefer hot weather, but there are a lot fewer bugs in the cold and you can always layer up no matter how cold it gets." There are 3 launch points here. You can extend the conversation by talking about your opinions on cold and hot weather, about how almost nobody really enjoys bugs that much, or even about why the other person does or does not enjoy layering up. And the third and most important tip is that when you talk, you should try to use the least amount of words possible for every message you have to deliver. When it comes to having conversations, the quality of your speech is directly correlated to how efficiently you use your words. That does not mean talk very fast, but you need to take out filler words and other unneeded points that do not bring much value to your speech. Some examples are "so," "like," "I guess," "I mean." Let's listen to the following speeches. "I really like to go hiking every now and then. It allows me to get out of the house and de-stress my head from all the crazy schoolwork I do all the time. I really wish I could do it more often in the future." Now compare it to this. "I really enjoy hiking. It allows me to get out of the house and take a break from school. I hope to do it more often in the future." Both phrases delivered the exact same message, but notice how the second one has no filler words, and it also uses fewer words to deliver the same point, which makes it sound more smooth and sophisticated. Obviously, this is easier said than done, which is why you must practice it to get better at it. And finally, the last part of the conversation is the closing, which should typically only be done when you both have to leave and go in different directions. Closing the conversation is actually fairly simple. It may sound like common sense, but in most cases, all you have to do is either say you need to go somewhere or tell the other person which direction you are headed, that it was good to meet the other person, shake hands, and tell them to have a good day. Here's a good example. "Alright, my office is in the other direction, but it was really nice to meet you. Have a great day." Just remember that you should never leave the conversation while it is happening, since it could end on a bad stopping point. And that's it. Those are all the major aspects I have on having quality conversations. So to sum it all up, we talked about why it's so important to have meaningful conversations since it allows you to make valuable relationships with anyone, especially in the digital age we live in. We then talked about the 3 general rules of communication, which were to not just learn about communication but also practice it. Do not be afraid of what other people may think of you, and consistently practice having conversations to maintain your skill. Afterwards, we talked about the 3 components that make up the structure of a conversation, which were the initiation, the conversation itself, and the closing. During the conversation, don't forget to talk about a topic that the other person is interested in. Create launch points within your speech to extend the conversation, and use the least amount of words possible for each message you have to deliver. If you found value in this video, it would mean a lot if you gave this video a huge thumbs up. Do you agree with these tips on having conversations? Was there anything important that you thought I left out? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and turn on notifications so that you can continue to rapidly reform your life for the better. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.